the explosions, the fire, and the man behind it all goes by the name Dr. Bunhead. He is TV's most extreme educational scientist. Hailing from the United Kingdom, this 43-year-old is considered UK's most successful stand-up scientist. And he's in town to showcase some 100 different experiments at Singapore's largest science festival, Science 09. But who is Dr. Bunhead?
Who is Dr. Bunhead? He is the world's leading explosive scientist. It happens to be me. I am Dr. Bunhead.
Tell me more about the real you. What is your real name?
Real name's Tom Pringle, but no one ever remembers that. Even my friends call me Bun. So back home they call me Bun or Bunhead because it's in Scotland is what they my home country.
How old are you?
43, but still very handsome.
Okay, why the name Bunhead?
When I started, I wanted a name that was fun for the kids and sounded a bit scientific. And I never intended to keep the name Bunhead. But my brother had a photo of me, and because I have no hair on the top, he covered the bottom of the photo like this, and there was just 2 black dots where my eyes were, and he said, "You look like a bun." And I thought, I'll call myself Bunhead, and then I'll change the name, I'll get a proper name. But the children thought it was funny because it sounds like bum, and they'll call me Bumhead. And it just stuck, so that it's just been Bunhead all the time. I never intended to keep it.
So is this what you always wanted to do? What did you actually train for?
I trained as a scientist. I spent a long time, 10 years at university doing chemistry, and I also trained to teach secondary chemistry. And I never knew what I wanted to do. For years I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew what I didn't want to do, which was all the jobs available. And then, long story short, I met someone who was a science communicator, and I went, that's a job? And that was it. I knew I wanted to be a science communicator. I loved science and I loved education.
What is it about science that makes you so passionate about it?
It's just brilliant. I mean, the experiments talk for themselves when you see the things we can do with it, and just the things we're able to do.
Out of all the experiments you've done, which is the most fulfilling or the most memorable for you?
Being lifted up in the air by helium balloons is really very memorable. I had about 26-foot diameter helium balloons. I got floated in the air. So it's another big favourite.
Were you afraid?
No, I was excited. I wanted to go higher. The health and safety, they wouldn't let me go very high. And I said, no, let me go higher. So, no.
Have you ever hurt yourself, while trying to do an experiment?
I've set my head on fire and done various bits and pieces. So yes, I've had the occasional thing. Usually what happens is it's something that you've, for example, I had some things made and the person who made it hadn't made it the way I had expected it, so it didn't behave the way I expected. So it's usually things like that happen, and then you go back to the drawing board and say, no, like this, I want it made like this.
When kids approach you in the streets, do they tell you, oh, I've tried your experiment at home and things like that?
Some do, yeah. I had a great one because I show I show them experiments that they can do. I think it's an important thing to have exciting experiments, not sort of tame ones, but things that are really exciting you can do with stuff you get at home that they can do safely. And I have one where they make a big foam shoot out of a fizzy drinks bottle, and you're supposed to use water. And this mum came up to me and told us that her son had used blackcurrant juice and her ceiling was purple. And so I was quite pleased with him. Quietly, I said, very naughty boy, but I was quite impressed that he'd done that.
Do you spend a lot of time? Do you spend a lot of money on some of your experiments?
Both. I spend a lot of time and I spend a lot of money. I've spent over £100,000 developing my experiments over the last decade.
So how do you deter people from actually trying some of the more dangerous experiments?
I usually have a section in the show where things go wrong, and so they have an idea that if they do try these things, that things can go wrong. Because what I've noticed is if you say don't try this at home, always someone somewhere will give it a try. So there are a combination of things. I leave details out as well, so that if they tried it, there are bits that they can't do. So they wouldn't be able to do it unless they were qualified scientists, in which case they'd know how to make it safe.
But that's not all Dr. Bunhead has to share with us. In the next clip, it's back to school for me as I learn how to create an explosion of my own.